Hello and welcome to Archive West Texas, a program dedicated to preserving and sharing stories of individuals who shaped our region. I'm Gordon Wilkerson, joined today as always by our producer Thomas Dye. We're continuing our conversation today with Barry McCool. Barry is a retired naval officer, a professor emeritus at Texas Tech University, and the father of Columbia Space Shuttle pilot Willie McCool. Barry and his family have had a large and lasting impact on the Lubbock community. Barry, in our last episode, you were talking with us about your upbringing in Pennsylvania, your service in Vietnam with the Marines, your marriage to Audrey, and the establishment of your family, and then your college education and the remarkable attributes of that. When we left off, you were finishing up your college education in a all girls school in Minnesota. Pick it up there and let's talk some more about how things progressed from there. I think you went from there into the Navy, and you were telling me just a minute ago you had a choice between med school and the Navy.
Right. When Audrey and I got married, like I said, Willie was 7 and Kirsty, my daughter, was 4. And one of the caveats was when we got married is that I was adopting the children instantaneously, and so that they were mine. If they're mine, then I can really work hard at developing them. So in 1971, my youngest son, Sean, was born, and like I said, we migrated to Duluth, Minnesota, where I finished my last semester at the College of St. Scholastica, which was at that time an all-girl university. And for that final fall 1973 semester, 72 semester, the university opened it up, and there were a total of 25 male students, so I wasn't the only one.
There you go.
But they did that simply because they really wanted Audrey there to take over as director at the St. Mary's Hospital, which was the teaching hospital for the med school there at the University of Minnesota Duluth Medical School. And during that semester, they needed a individual. They wanted to hire an individual to assist in the pathology lab. And because I had, in my 3 years of education, I had taken so many courses in anatomy and physiology and chemistry and everything, they offered me the part-time position to do all the preps for the autopsies, slicing tissue for slides. I did all the prep for the postmortems, and the very first one I did, I got a call at 11 o'clock at night, report to the hospital. I get there, they send me up to the third floor where pathology was, and I walk in, and there's this doctor in his greens, and he says, "Go get your set of greens and put them on." And I'm shocked. I said, what am I doing? And he says, so I put on my greens, and he says, "Get yourself a pair of rubber gloves on." So I put on the gloves. He says, "Okay, get Mrs. York out of number 4. What? And he looks at me, "What's the problem?" I said, "Well, I've never done this ever before." And he says, "What?" He says, "Okay, so you will follow what I do." So we took the lady out, put her on the table and turned the water on. And he says, "Okay, you're on the left side, I am on the right side. This is what they expect you to do when you report in." And so I did the whole post-mortem, disarticulating the ribs and all that bit. Holy cow, what a shock. But I did that for the rest of the semester. And like I said, I sent the postcards back to the military, and they sent out a naval officer to recruit me. I was doing a master's degree in Minnesota ecology, so I had electrodes on 2x4s, and I was shocking steelhead trout that float to the surface in the creeks and stuff. I'd put radio transmitters in them with an operation, and then we could track the migration routes. That was what I was doing. Well, this guy shows up, sweet young lieutenant, and I have my full beard, shoulder-length hair. I'm in waders, a wool shirt on. I have a blue or a yellow school bus that I converted to a laboratory for doing all this. And he shows up and he says, "I'm looking for Sergeant McCool." And oh man, look at this. Remember, this was,
this is the 70s.
Audrey and I got married on Woodstock Day,
Yeah.
15th of August, 1969, when Woodstock took off. So, hey, dude, what's happening, man? And this young lieutenant just went white. And he says, "Are you Sergeant McCool?" And I said, "Well, I used to be." And so the spiel was, "I have these 5 exams that we need you to take. I'll grade them on your bus as you take them." So I took this battery of algebra, English, vectors, advanced trigonometry, and he's graded them. So he gets them all graded about 10 o'clock at night. He says, "Okay, when do you want to go get your flight physical?" I said, "Whoa, I don't do anything without talking to Audrey." So he says, "Okay, well, on Monday, give me a call." So went home, had a decision to make. 4 years of med school, 2 years of residency, or internship, 2 years of residency, 1 year of specialization and paying back student loans, or leave in the middle of January in Duluth, Minnesota, and go to sunny Pensacola, Florida for 12 weeks of aviation officer candidate training, get a commission, and then start flight training. Audrey says, "Get me out of the frozen chosen." So I became a naval aviator. My first assignment to a squadron was a Blackbird mission on Guam, the island of Guam in Micronesia, and Audrey loved it there. The kids loved it. Willie was a junior at JFK High School on Guam, played football, broke an ankle, and rehab was running. And he was running on the track at Guam when this beautiful Micronesian, long black hair, long-legged young lady runs past him on the track. Turned out to be his future wife, Ahalante. So we spent 4 years on Guam. I had a great tour, and the detailers from D.C. came out and they said, "Mac, if you want to make a career out of the Navy, you got to get out of this community and get into TAC Air. We'll cut you a set of orders transitioning you from props to jets."
There you go.
So
Let's take a quick break. Come back and hear that story.
we're headed to Lubbock, Texas.
There we go. We'll talk about that next.
That's where we end up next.
I want to remind our listeners that if you have a suggestion for a future guest on Archive West Texas, please email us at info@classical1057.org. We'll be right back with Barry McCool. Welcome back to Archive West Texas. We're continuing our conversation with Barry McCool. Barry, you talked the last segment about your introduction into naval flight programming and serving as an officer on Guam. And I think ultimately your naval career leads you to Lubbock, Texas. Tell us how you and your family got to Lubbock.
Okay, in 1977, my 4 years at Guam was over. I received orders to go to San Diego, to North Island, the transition from props to jets. And I knew that transition was going to take time and that I was going to be traveling all over. And having been a military brat and all the problems I had as a student and a high school dropout, I did not want Willie, Kirsty, and Sean having those same kind of problems. So Audrey at the time had applied to Texas Tech to their doctoral program and had been accepted. So we landed in Anaheim, California. I picked up a car in Reno, Nevada, drove back down to Anaheim, packed everybody up, and we drove to Lubbock, Texas. And the day we got here, as we crossed into the city limits, at that exact time on one of your radio stations, they announced that Elvis Presley had been found dead in his hotel room. So we always know the day that we got to Lubbock, Texas, wherever the hell that was.
That's one of those days you remember where you were when that happened.
Yep. So we set Audrey up. We got a house by Maxey Park on Quaker and 28th Street. Kirsty went to Smiley Wilson, could walk 1 block away. Willie went to Coronado High School, 4 blocks away, and Sean went to a elementary school that's no longer there. And Audrey was a doctoral student at Texas Tech in the nutrition program.
And you kept your naval commission during this time?
I was a Lieutenant JG at the time, okay? I set them up here, and then I became a geographical bachelor. And I drove to San Diego, reported into North Island, and I started cross-training into flying jets. So I went from C-130s to S-3 Vikings, okay, which is a long-range reconnaissance anti-submarine warfare aircraft on carriers. And for the next 9 months, I would go on long-range navigational training flights to Reese Air Force Base to come home on 3-day weekends or Christmas leave. And in the meantime, Audrey's getting her doctoral degree here. I deployed on the USS Ranger aircraft carrier to the Pacific for my first deployment. Got about 85 carrier traps, landings on the carrier. Came back from that cruise, and Audrey graduated with her PhD and took a position at the campus in El Paso. So I flew to Reese. That weekend I flew an air show at Reese, just happened to work out. And then moving vans and cars, and we drove from Lubbock to El Paso, where Willie had already finished at Coronado High School. And my daughter went to Coronado High School in El Paso.
Yeah.
Okay. While we were here in Lubbock, while Willie was at Coronado High School, he ran track and field and cross country. And unbeknownst to me, the family never told me anything. He had applied to the Naval Academy and the Air Force Academy. I didn't even know he applied. Okay? Never said word one to me. I had no idea that he was even interested in the military. And he got accepted at both. And when you're accepted at the academy, you do a visit with the academy. Well, he was recruited because of cross country and track and field, long distance running. And he ran a race in Brownfield, Texas, and beat G.W. Bush badly in a 10K race. And he obviously plays first place. And George Bush wanted to know who that tall, blonde, skinny kid was that beat him so badly on his time. So Willie met with him and explained how he came to be running for Coronado High School. And I don't know if that had anything to do with him being selected at the academies or not, but he chose the Naval Academy because Al Catello was the track and cross-country coach, and he liked him a lot better than the coach at the Air Force Academy. So Willie was a superb student. Audrey and I didn't necessarily agree on how to raise kids. I was the tough, hard-ass Marine, and when we first got married, Willie was a wimp. I wanted to wrestle with my son, instantaneous father, on the floor, and I'd wrestle with him and he'd start crying. And I was like, oh, this is not going to cut it. And we'd play chess, and I just whipped him all the time. And Audrey's on my case, let the boy win. I said, if I let him win, it doesn't mean anything. And when we were in Duluth, in middle school, his homeroom teacher was a chess master. And at lunch, all the kids that wanted to participate had chess boards, and he walked around and played chess with every single
kid.
student.
Wow.
The long and the short of it was, Willie could beat me in 4 moves, and I never won again. But that's how dedicated he was to learn and excel.
Well, and good for you for not giving it to him, for letting
Audrey
him
and
figure it out.
We never agreed on raising kids from that standpoint. They had to earn the awards. They had to earn the respect. It just isn't given to you. If you don't earn it, it doesn't mean anything. And I tried to get that across to her.
Let's take a quick break here. I want to remind our listeners that all archived West Texas episodes, including this show, are available on demand in our station app and also on our website at classical1057.org. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Archive West Texas. We're continuing our conversation today with Barry McCool. Barry, we talked a little bit in the last segment about how you and your family got to Lubbock. Talked also about your kids and your and Audrey's approaches to education, which, although they may have been different, were ultimately quite successful. And hat tip to you and your wife for raising 3 remarkable individuals. Talk with us a little bit more about those diverse approaches to education and how that worked, particularly in Willie's life.
Well, like I said, when we first got married, Willie was a wimp. I wrestled with him on the shag carpeting in the house, and he would start crying, and he'd face would turn real red, and he'd hyperventilate. And I'm still a Marine at that time, and I'm saying, whoa, this can't be my son. And so Audrey's, well, don't hurt the boy, this kind of thing. And I felt like he needed to be able to defend himself. And so I continued with the wrestling, and one Sunday changed his life. We were wrestling. He was crying, hyperventilating, face turning red. Audrey's yelling at me to stop, and I'm on the floor and I'm curled up, and Willie's on top of me just punching the heck out of me, and he got a lucky punch in and busted my nose, and blood all over the place. And that was the turning point. He realized that he could do these things, that he didn't have to hyperventilate. And from that point on, he became an athlete. I had him playing t-ball, then minor league baseball, then majors. He played Pop Warner football. I have pictures of my Datsun pickup truck with shoe polish. Go Jets, Willie, number 44, and streamers on the truck. We'd go to the games. That was when you could have people sit in the back of the pickup and not have the cops pull you over. It was a great time. Willie really excelled. And Audrey came around to realizing that crazy Marine was really doing something good, which later in life would prove. I was out on the Forrestal aircraft carrier, and I was still a JG, but I was flying jets now. And one morning, the CAG, the commander of the air group, comes into the ready room, unexpected. The CO calls attention on deck. We're all standing there with like you see in Top Gun at the big chairs and everything. And the skipper says, "What can we do for you, CAG?" And he says, "Where's Lieutenant McCool?" And the CO looks at me and he said, "What have you done now?" I don't know. And the commander of the air group, CAG, says, "How come you didn't tell anybody that your son's going to the Naval Academy?" "Sir, I don't know what you're talking about." And he says, I got a message here from Chief of Naval Operations congratulating you on your son's appointment to the Naval Academy. I said, "I didn't even know he applied." And so
Had to be a very proud moment for
that's
you.
how I found out.
Wow.
Okay. And it was a very proud moment. The guy saying, "You got a son old enough to go to the Naval Academy?" They didn't realize. Yeah. And so it was a major moment. And my tour ended, and when it did, I got orders to the Naval Air Test Center at Pax River, Maryland, which is on Solomon's Island, and it's about 90 minutes from the Naval Academy south. So Audrey became a faculty member at the University of Maryland, and she would travel up that long road twice a day to teach, leaving at 5 o'clock in the morning. And on the weekends, when they weren't in a track meet or anything, Willie would bring 2 or 3 of his classmates down to the house, and they'd eat us out of house and home. They'd go through 5 gallons of ice cream Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning. And
Midshipmen have to eat.
They would get up and they'd go for a 10-mile run, come back and have breakfast.
Yeah.
4 eggs over easy, 4 slices of bread, hash browns, bacon, half a gallon of milk. I mean, those boys ate.
What did Willie like best about the Naval Academy?
He liked everything. The challenge. He would tutor other academies of students. He was so intelligent that it didn't come easy. He studied his tail off, but when other guys were out driving around picking up girls and drinking, Willie was studying. And he was also staying in contact with his future wife on Guam.
And she was still on Guam?
She was still on Guam. She had married a naval aviator, and her husband was stationed at Yuma, Arizona, at the Marine Corps air station there, and they got a divorce. But
Well, communicating between Annapolis and Guam back in, what would that have been, the early 80s? That was a little bit of a challenge.
It was a challenge. Willie graduated number 2 in his class at the academy out of 1,063 graduates out of that class of 83. And because he graduated with such a high class standing, he could have been the brigade commander. But he didn't want to do all the politics with all the visiting congressmen and senators and all that. That was not his thing. He never promoted himself. He was always promoting somebody else, his roommates, whatever. And so one Saturday he returned from a short 10-mile run through the academy gate, and he had a T-shirt on, and that was a gig. So he got 4 demerits, and that kept him from being the brigade commander. He was the XO. When he graduated, he received honors from the Daughters of the American Revolution. He received honors from 4 or 5 other groups, and the Navy sent him to the University of Maryland to get a master's degree in computer science before he went to flight school.
That concludes our show for today. Barry, we're going to ask you to stay over for one more episode. Appreciate you listening with us today and sharing part of your day with us. Please join us again next week for another episode of Archive West Texas.